Hello everyone, my name is Malivio Mazeke, also known as Max. I'm a poet, I'm a writer beyond poetry. I've been commissioned by Emil YX to write a poem about water. But fortunately for me, when he made the request, I had already written a poem that is titled Water is Life. So Emil YX is the founding father of South African hip-hop culture. He had been recently bestowed with the Order of Ikhamanga. Order of Ikhamanga is bestowed on the people who have made a huge contribution in the field of arts, culture, and recreation. So it's a presidential highest order that is given to the people who have made a huge contribution in the field of arts. So everyone who is involved in hip-hop culture in South Africa know Emil YX. Everybody who is involved in the culture of hip-hop globally would know Emil YX. He is currently residing in America. Emil YX is one of the people who have made a huge contribution in my life, and I'm highly honored to be still connected, with him, to be still working with him, because he made a huge contribution in many people in South Africa, especially the people who are involved in arts, culture, and recreation. So he's one of the founding fathers of hip-hop culture in South Africa. He co-founded a hip-hop group called Black Noise in 1982. He was a school teacher by profession, but because of a passion that he had for arts, culture, and recreation, he quit his job as a teacher and started teaching kids how to dance. He was specializing in what we now call break dance, but at the time it was referred to as b-boy, b-boy, but now it's popularly called break dance. Emil, yeah. So I'm going to. He asked me to, to write and read a poem, on water. Then, as I said, I had already written, a poem that is titled "Water is Life." But this poem is featured on one of my poetry book volumes. I published Healing Verses Volume 1. It's a book that consists of 50 poems. I've published Healing Verses Volume 2, Healing Verses Volume 3, and Healing Verses Volume 4. So this poem is featured on Healing Verses Volume 4 that will be released on the 6th of January 2025. 6th January 2025. The Healing Verses Volume 4, which is one of my books, my poetry books, will be out on 6th January 2024. So in all of my poetry books, apart from the dedications, introductions, acknowledgements, and so forth, on the last pages of all of my poetry books, you find literary notes, because I want the readers to be able to understand, to interpret the devices that I used, in my poems. So I've listed a large number of literary devices, global literary devices, for my readers to understand the figures of speech that are applied in the books. You understand? And then underneath each poem on all of my poetry books, you find explanatory notes, where I explain briefly the content of each poem, in all of my books, you see. So now I'm going to read you a poem that is titled Water is Life, that is featured on my 4th volume. This poem is about the contribution of water in our lives. As you may know that nothing can exist without water. Water is one of the main basic elements of life. All living entities are entirely dependent on water, including spiritual beings and spiritual beings with human experiences and others, such as trees, animals, and plants. So everything would become dry and lifeless without water. Our physical bodies are dominated by water. So water is life. There can be no life without water. So now let me read the actual poem. Water is life. I could see water's inundation from creation when it drenched to fulfill human life's mission. From expanse of the earth, it imbrued and flooded. On dry promontories, from infusing clouds, it soaked into all living creatures, plants, forests, and human bodies, whose saturated drops and overflowed blood bred purities that swam and plunged to baptize life in the chaotic stream, and submerging rills that tumbled the walls of Zambezi's beam, through which crystallized sprinkles boiled in the cold like ocean tide, before it dissipated like massive snow of Antarctica and Everest with pride. Water is life plummeted from the deep to preserve and protect us from the slump. When the blessing rain falls and pours to purify our memories and the planet's lost and found melodies. When the thunders sing the songs for all villagers to dance on the moistened and dampened green landscapes for prudence. Water still slides in streamlets on open creeks to overturn droughts. In precarious seasons where water scarcities impinge on human rights. Imagine the world without water. All souls would surgeon back to the potter. No seed would live, and God's spirit would hover in darkness without real water. So that is my poem that I've been commissioned to write and read aloud by Emil YX. Thank you so much.